is up, everybody? My name is Jeff. Welcome to Will Drum for Food, the show where I talk about whatever it is I feel like talking about. I got my webcam, I got my giant cup of coffee, so let's go. And if you like these videos, don't forget to click that subscribe button and the notification bell. So first, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I hope you ate lots of turkey, didn't get too fat. I got to make this a quick one because I'm super excited. I joined a Judas Priest tribute band, but I got to get downstairs and start working on some songs because I've been kind of slacking on that a little bit. So speaking of Thanksgiving, I recently found out that I am actually a direct descendant of Samuel Fuller, who was actually a prominent citizen that came over on the Mayflower. So, depending on what your political leanings are, you could look at this one of two ways. Okay, get down. Way number one, my great, however far back it was, grandfather had a hand in founding this country. Or way number two, he was a murderous son of a bitch that took part in the enslavement of an entire race of indigenous people. You say tomato, I say tomato. You know, I look at it this way. I had nothing to do with either one of them. So, for those of you that are not in the United States, there are three great Thanksgiving traditions. Tradition number one, eating dinner while you listen to your parents talk about what a great big disappointment you are. Tradition number two, watching the Detroit Lions lose. And tradition number three, what I like to call white trash Hunger Games, Black Friday shopping. Yes, that wonderful Thanksgiving tradition of love, where people leave their families at 4:30 in the afternoon to go sit in line for a TV that is allegedly name brand, but is really full of knockoff parts to keep the price down. I actually did go one year, and I came to the conclusion that I am just way too confrontational of a person to take part in this whole thing. I was fine after the first person checked me into the shelves, but after it happened a second time, so some lady could get a cheap vacuum cleaner, that was it for me. I decided I need to walk away, or I was going to end up in jail. You know, if there's ever a zombie apocalypse or some super virus that wipes out half the population and we're starving, I hear people say, oh, people will come together. No, they're not going to come together. You know why I know they're not going to come together? Because I've been in Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning when they unwrap the cheap Chinese TV. I've seen the chaos that ensues. Look at this woman in this picture. Look at this. Look at this piece of human excrement. She is taking, I don't know what that is. But whatever it is, she's taking it away from a little girl. What the hell is wrong with people? All right, I've rambled on long enough. I literally have no segue from that into my next topic. Maybe education. Educate yourself. That's, I don't know. Make sure you learn how to read. There's the topic for today, reading. And when I say reading, I'm not talking about novels or anything like that. Right there. That's what I'm talking about. I think every drummer should have a basic base of reading knowledge. I recently saw on one of the drumming message boards a discussion about reading, and somebody actually said, "Well, Buddy Rich never learned how to read, so why should I?" And literally, I wanted to, if I could have, I would have reached through my computer screen and grabbed whoever that was by the neck and choked the crap out of him, because it comes down to one thing. Buddy Rich was arguably the greatest drummer to ever live. You're not Buddy Rich. And like I said earlier, I've joined this Judas Priest tribute, and I got to get to work on learning the songs. Now, maybe there's some transcriptions out there. So, and if they're out there, they'll actually cut. Because I know how to read, I will be able to cut my time in half of learning some of these songs. Because sitting here, instead of having to rewind it over and over again and try to figure out what's what, I can just look at the transcription and go, oh, yeah, that's it. I mean, that's just one small example of how you can make your life easier by learning how to read, even just a little bit. You don't have to have this great big super incredible knowledge of how to read. You know, it's not like most of us are going to go in and audition for Frank Zappa. You know, I don't know if anybody knows this, but when drummers would go in and audition for Zappa, I don't know if you've ever listened to Zappa, but his music is crazy. Odd time signatures, weird polyrhythms, all kinds of crap going on. And he would have charts written out, and these guys would have to go in and sight read that. So, you know, if you're planning on auditioning for a Zappa tribute band or something, obviously you're going to have to learn, or if you're planning on going to Berkeley or one of those schools, you're going to have to have a higher level of sight reading than most. But for the rest of us, there's this. First of all, if you've ever sat down and looked at a piece of sheet music and you've never looked at it before, it can be rather intimidating. But first thing you need to learn, okay, is FACE, the lines on a staff. Every time they're going to be different for drums. It's depending on who wrote the drum part. I mean, there's a general a general bass line everybody stays to, but for the most part, it's going to be different. So don't get hung up on that. Don't get hung up on the lines on the staff. There's a key. So when you get a piece of sheet music, there's a key. So don't freak out. It's like, oh, well, is A my rack tom? Don't worry about it. All right, it'll let you know beforehand. What you really want to concentrate on learning is just your basic eighth note, quarter note, eighth note rests up to syncopated sixteenths. What I'm saying is everybody needs a base knowledge of rhythm. I call it, like, if you were looking at it in terms of reading the English language, I would say you got to be able to read at a 4th grade level. That's it, a 4th grade level to get by. Think about it this way. Think way back to kindergarten, 1st grade, or whatever it was, when you were first learning how to read words on a paper. You would look and you would slowly sound the word out. And then next time you go back to it, you'd see that word, and you know, maybe 50% of the time you knew that word. Then you'd see it again, and you'd instantly recognize that word. It's the same with music, with rhythm. When I was, first learning how to read, I'd see like a 3-note grouping, and I'd have to sit there and look at it. Okay, it's dotted 8th note, so all right. So I'm going to play on 1, and I'm going to play on E, but it doesn't look like I'm going to play on N, and I'm going to play on So, all right, and then I took a couple times maybe to figure that out, and then next time I look at it, I'd instantly recognize it as, I'd look, boom, just like that. That particular rhythm was a rhythm I'd already played hundreds of thousands of times. So I already knew it. So I just had to look at it on a piece of paper and just recognize it for what it was. A simple rhythm that I've already played. There's something about drummers who they don't want to learn how to read. I was no exception. I actually didn't learn how to read until I was out of high school. Years had gone by before I actually learned how to read. So there's something about us, it's in our DNA, where we want to use our ears rather than read what's on a piece of paper. And actually, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to learn how to play by using your ears. I remember, like playing in jazz band in school, there were so many kids that were so dependent on what was right in front of them on the paper that they couldn't learn, they couldn't do anything outside of what was on that paper. So we actually, as human beings, we learn how to talk before we learn how to read. And in my opinion, that should be the way with musical instruments also. So what it comes right down to is, I would say you need to know instantly by looking at it, recognizing tops. And I think I'm really shooting for a high number here. 200 200 rhythms. And I know I'm shooting for a high rhythm. That's a rest of combinations, dotted. It's all the 16th notes, triplets, all that. It's tops 200. There are plenty of resources online where you can learn how to recognize those rhythms. It'll show you how you count them out, and how to, what falls where as far as the notation goes. I would say 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks, and you'll be able to sight read all the sight reading exercises, like say in the New Breed book, which is available online to look at, and you could get an idea. That's the base level of reading I think everybody needs to have. All right, guys, that's it for me. Click that subscribe button. Click that notification bell. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I'll see you next time.